UFC's going back to London. Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady is going to be the main event. And today, I'm going to go over my early predictions for the whole entire card. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. Just feeling the card out, seeing my reads, my early reads. But anyways, let's get right into it. This poster, man, I got to give the UFC some credit. It looks pretty solid. I like it. But this card is very good. I like it a lot, man. The first fight up is Guram Kutateladze taking on Kaue Fernandes. I believe this fight got announced, 4 or 5 days ago. And it's a pretty solid matchup. Now, if you look at the odds here, Guram is minus 420, and I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. Now, yes, Kaue Fernandes struggled on the mat, with Marc Diakiese, and I've actually done film for this fight, so this is one of the two that I've done film for. And, Kaue Fernandes taken down by Marc Diakiese, wrestled a lot in that fight. And Marc Diakiese's actually a pretty decent grappler, I want to be confident saying that. He's a pretty decent grappler, but Kaue Fernandes was controlled. He was controlled on the mat, kind of gassed out a little bit, didn't look the best. I don't know how that was a split decision. I believe Marc Diakiese should have won that fight pretty clearly. But anyways, Fernandes, man, he's fast, and he's going to have a significant, I don't want to say a significant, but he's going to have a speed advantage in my opinion here. He's got fast kicks, sneaky kicks. He's got solid hands, but he likes to kind of blitz into these shots, and that could be an issue or it could be a good thing for him. He's interesting because I don't necessarily know if his boxing's that good. But he's got decent hands. He's a little bit smaller, and I think that he does, like I said before, hold the speed and athleticism advantage here. But with Guram, you're going to see the advantage in the strength, the experience, and the power as well. To me, I believe that Guram is the better grappler for sure. I think that Guram wins this fight if he takes it to the mat and takes Kaue down and just beats his ass there, controls him there, maybe locks up the submission. Guram is great on the mat, man. You don't get to see it very often, but you did get to see it against Jordan Vucenic, who's also on this card, who's also a great grappler. And Guram had a lot of success, got hurt early into that fight, but rallied back and won those 2 rounds. And that's something you really don't see from Guram all that often. And he's had a lot of fight cancellations, but now he's here. He's fighting Kaue Fernandes. Kaue Fernandes, I forgot to mention, he has good calf kicks as well. We'll see what he's able to do, but I do think that if Guram's able to get this fight to the mat, I think he's better there. I do think he's a better boxer on the feet, but I think Kaue's more dynamic. He's more fast, he's more athletic, and that's kind of how I see this fight. So I think Guram is going to take this dude down. It would be smart to do so. Guram's got very good grappling, very good wrestling, and he's just a very balanced fighter. He's one of those guys you look at that's just got everything. He's just not, putting it all together, right? And he does have everything. He's very, very skilled. I don't agree with the number, but I am going to go with Guram to get this fight to the mat, maybe win a decision here, 29-28. I don't like the number because I think Kaue is a little bit better than the odds are suggesting. So I'll go with Guram to win this one by decision. The next fight up, Nathan Fletcher versus Kyle Loughran. I'm not going to lie, this is a bit of a shitty fight. I don't know much about Nathan Fletcher. He's the Ultimate Fighter guy. I think he trains with Paddy. I don't exactly remember. Don't, correct me if I'm wrong. Or Kyle Loughran, he's bulky. He's big. He's not great on the feet to me. I think he might be coming off a loss to, I want to say, Taylor Lapulus, or has he lost to Jake Hadley and Taylor Lapulus? I don't know who he's lost to. I don't remember. But, he's not great. He's got to get the fight to the mat, and I think that Fletcher's a little bit more balanced from what I remember seeing him. I think he can, defend takedowns, land better shots on the feet, stay out of range. I don't think Loughran, he's very bulky, blocky, like you can see. He's stiff when he throws strikes. I don't believe in Kyle Loughran a whole lot. So I'm going to go with Nathan Fletcher to win this one. I'll just go with him to win by a decision. Don't know too much about both of these guys, but we'll move on to the next one. Boy, oh boy. This is probably one of the worst fights the UFC has ever put together. I'm serious. I know both of these ladies, and the reason that I know them is because I feel like they're so bad. No disrespect, of course. I know Tomar's coming off a win. I don't remember who it's against. I don't know who Shauna beat. I just think that this is the worst fight the UFC's ever put together, and I don't mean it to be like an ass, but I'm going with Shauna. Yo, this fight is going to be horrible, man. This is a piss break if I've ever seen one. Let's move on to the next one, which is going to be Christian Leroy Duncan and the debut of Andrey Pulyaev. A pretty simple and easy decision for me is going to be Christian Leroy Duncan. Pulyaev got a win on the Contender Series over Liam Anderson. He was kind of a sizable underdog in that fight. He showed some good things. He's got a long reach. It doesn't say, but he's definitely got a long reach. He's a little bit sloppy on the feet. He just looks like a lanky dude who I don't know how to explain him. He's got some solid low kicks. He's not great, though. He's not great. And I think that Christian Leroy Duncan is much better. Leroy Duncan's coming off a loss to Gregory Rodriguez, where I believe the fight was short notice, or Gregory Rodriguez stepped in short notice, I want to say. And Gregory was an underdog there, and I bet on Greg to win that fight, and he did. He took it over with the wrestling, the physicality, and ended up beating Christian Leroy Duncan. Now, Christian Leroy Duncan, he's got this kind of elusive style on the feet. I don't necessarily know if I like him, but to me, he's much more skilled than Andrey Pulyaev is. He's going to be the faster guy, the better striker to me, and it seems to be an easy pick. I don't believe much in Andrey Pulyaev, to be honest with you. I think he's kind of bottom of the tier Dana White Contender Series guys that have been signed. And that's kind of what I believe of him. I don't think he's that good. He's got some good kicks, but like I said, he's slow. Not a big fan of his game. I'm going to go with Christian Leroy Duncan to win this one. I want to say he can get a knockout. So we'll go with CLD via knockout. The next fight up, you got Mick Parkin taking on Marcin Tybura. Marcin is coming off a brutal win over Jahanza Deniz. I picked Jahanza Deniz in that one, and he got destroyed, right? He got taken down to the mat, looked like a fish out of water, and got cut up really bad. Very, very bad. And, Marcin Tybura, before that, got armbarred by my boy Sergey Spivak. And Tybura, he's definitely older than Mick Parkin for sure. I'm kind of curious on the odds here, where you are looking at Marcin Tybura as the favorite. That's very interesting. Now, I kind of think that Mick Parkin should win this one. Parkin, we haven't seen his takedown defense tested that much, and, really at all. I don't know if Muhammad Usman might have shot a couple times, but Mick Parkin looked pretty solid. I know his last fight was against Lucas Bresky, which does nothing for me because I think Bresky's really, really bad. But, Tybura, he's very old. He's slow on the feet specifically, and he's probably the better guy on the mat. But I think that Mick Parkin, he's got a nice solid jab. He doesn't overextend, right? He doesn't put himself out of position to get taken down. He's got good cardio. He's got good volume on the feet as well. I think he wins this fight, and I like the underdog price you're getting on him as well. I don't necessarily know if that'll last, but I haven't done film, of course, so it's just kind of what I'm thinking off the first looks of this. But if he is at an underdog right now, there's a chance I could throw a little something on him. We'll see. But I do like Mick Parkin, man. He stays behind that jab. He works it good. It's fast. It's crispy. He snaps it well. And he's an up-and-coming, young guy who's pretty damn good. He's not overly crazy. But like I said, he sticks behind his straight shots. He doesn't hit very hard, but he does a good job at that. Now, I could kind of see Tybura kind of like smothering him in the clinch, but overall, if it's at range, I expect Mick Parkin to get in and out with that jab, put together the right hand after it a couple times, but still stay out of danger, right? And that's really what he does. I'm going to go with Mick Parkin here via decision. I think he wins this one. We'll move on to the next one. My guy, Lanier Kavanaugh, my favorite prospect off the Dana White Contender Series, one of my favorite up-and-coming guys. He is probably my favorite up-and-coming guy in the UFC right now. I love this guy's game. He's coming off a win versus Jose Ochoa, and he's got a similar matchup here. Felipe dos Santos, both guys train at a shoot box down in Brazil, but I think that Ochoa is better than Felipe dos Santos. Lanier Kavanaugh, very dynamic striker. He's got great speed. He's got great kicks. He's got tons of K1 kickboxing experience. He's been doing it for a while, and he is the better striker here for sure. Now, he fought Jose Ochoa, who had some moments against Lanier Kavanaugh, but Ochoa ate some big shots. Now, Lanier got away with the 29-28 victory over Ochoa, but I expect to see, Ochoa, a guy who was going to be on Contender Series. I expect him to do some good things in the flyweight division as well. So I think it's a great win that Lanier Kavanaugh got. Kind of got the nerves out. Now he's taking on Felipe dos Santos, who's coming off a loss to Andrey Lima, who's fighting this weekend, and before that, Manel Kopp, and then he got kind of got a fluky win over Victor Altamirano, and he's back here taking on Lanier Kavanaugh. Like I said, kind of similar style to Jose Ochoa with the kind of dynamicness, but Dos Santos gasses out. He doesn't hit that hard, and he's got crazy submissions. I just don't see him getting it to the mat. I think Lanier is too fast here. He's too good at setting shots up. He's too technical. Felipe dos Santos, to me, he's way too wild. And he's got decent hands. He's got, pretty good volume. He's pretty fast. I think Lanier's going to see these shots coming. He's got a very nasty low kick. His left hook is money. It's, you're looking at a very good, talented striker in Lanier Kavanaugh at flyweight. One of the better strikers. I'd say a top 5 striker at flyweight for sure. And I know that might be a little bit of a statement, but from what I've seen out of him, man, on Cage Wars to Dana White Contender Series to his last fight, I mean, he just puts together nasty combinations, makes great reads, works all levels, works the body, the legs, and the head, of course. He does a really good job. He's a very good striker, man. I'm excited to see him fight again. I'm excited to see what his upside, his ceiling is, and, whenever he's in front of a big grappler that he's going to have to face eventually, I want to see how he gets tested. But this isn't a guy who I believe can implement some grappling game plan for 3 rounds, let alone 1 round probably. So I think that Kavanaugh's got this guy, maybe not a finish, but he'll win this fight 30-27 to me. So I'm going with Lanier Kavanaugh to win this fight, and we move on. The featured prelim, Jai Herbert versus Chris Padilla. I just did film on this fight as well, and I can tell you guys this right now. I am not a fan of Chris Padilla's game, okay? I don't think he's some guy that needs to be watched out for in this lightweight division. It's hard for me to understand why he is even, I know I saw the odds, even at a pick'em to me. I think it's ridiculous. Padilla, when it comes to his style, he's a guy who sits back. He doesn't throw a lot. He looks to counter. He kind of looks for the one shot like he did against Rongju typically. He is a guy who likes to mix in the wrestling, and I think that benefits him here. But I just hate his style on the feet, man. It just feels to me like it's we're out here sparring. I'm trying to be technical when I'm not really a technical fighter. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that to be like an asshole, but that's how I feel about Chris Padilla. I don't think he's some guy to look out for. Oh my gosh, he's won 2 fights in a row. The Rongju win, give him credit. Nice elbow he landed, but if that fight goes on, he wouldn't have won. And I know somehow he was up on the scorecards in round 1, which is very stupid to me. But I think that Rongju would have ended up beating Chris Padilla pretty easily. Now, some things Chris Padilla can do to go out there and win, put Jai Herbert on the back foot, try to wrestle him, extend combinations, but he doesn't really do any of that besides wrestling, right? He doesn't, come forward, he doesn't extend combinations, and he has that sparring kind of style where he tries to keep it technical. He's not going to be as technical as Jai Herbert, right? I think that Jai Herbert, his downfall is his durability, and his wrestling defense has been good enough, and I think it'll be good enough to stop anything that Chris Padilla's got coming his way. I think Jai Herbert shuts this dude out, man. I truly, firmly believe that he does. I don't see Chris Padilla as a good fighter. That's just a personal opinion. Jai Herbert, when it comes to his strikes, man, he's clean on the feet. He's got great footwork. He moves in and out well. He feints well. He's got a reach advantage here with a speed advantage, a footwork advantage. I think that he's the much better guy here. And like I said, if Chris Padilla wants to keep this little sparring kind of, sparring style where he's on the back foot, barely throwing shots, he's not going to win. He's not going to win. And I think that's how he approaches this fight and maybe mixes in the wrestling a little bit. I don't think he has success with it. I think that Jai Herbert lights this dude up from range, uses those straight shots he's got, and gets in and out. Lights him up. I think he lights him up. I'm going with Jai Herbert here. A good chance I'll throw a bet on him too, because I think it's a little ridiculous that Chris Padilla is minus 105. This guy was plus 350 versus James Law on top. I'll move on to the next one. And I know I'll get some shade for that because a lot of people like Padilla, but I just can't get behind the guy. I don't think he's great. We'll move on to the next one. My favorite matchup on the card, man. My favorite matchup on the card. You got Nathaniel Wood taking on Morgan Charriere. This is a great fight, an incredible fight. And I actually know that Morgan Charriere opened up this fight, or Nathaniel Wood opened up as like a minus 250 favorite. I could check here, but as you can see, Morgan is actually a minus 185. Morgan opened up plus 205. That's insane to me. Because I would have been all over that. I would have thrown my whole bank account on that if I could have. Because I think Morgan's going to knock him out. Nathaniel Wood, one of those guys who's just got everything, right? Along with Morgan Charriere, they both got everything. I think that Morgan is a guy who is the fresher guy. He's got the better chin. He, to me, is the bigger guy, as you can see by the pictures here. But I do think that Nathaniel Wood holds advantages in some places here. I think that Nathaniel Wood holds the advantage in the boxing, pure boxing. I think he holds the advantage possibly in the speed, but Morgan's a very fast guy as well. But I just think Nathaniel Wood's downfall is always going to be his durability. It's always going to be it, man. That's why you see him as an underdog, right? Nathaniel Wood has all the skills, you know what I mean? But there's instances in fights where he's fighting to close fights, right? With Andrey Fili, he should have shut out Andrey Fili, but he got dropped like 2 or 3 times and pretty much made him win that fight. I think it was by a split decision. I don't exactly remember. Muhammad Naimov, another one where he got dropped. You know what I mean? It's just Nathaniel Wood's durability concerns me a lot, and I think that Morgan hits harder, much, much harder. And I think that his boxing is very good. I don't know if it's necessarily the level of Nathaniel Wood's, but it's very good. And I absolutely, the number one thing for me picking Morgan is I absolutely love seeing these younger guys like Morgan get tested with a tough, durable dude that's just going to push you. And that's what Chepe Mariscal did. But Morgan, man, he looked fantastic. There's a debate that he could have won that fight. I didn't necessarily score it for Morgan, but it was a tough fight. And a lot of people, including Nathaniel Wood, in my opinion, would have folded from what Chepe Mariscal was able to do to Morgan Charriere. I think that Nathaniel Wood would have quit in that fight. And Morgan, looked great. His cardio looked great. I got to go with Charriere here. There's a good chance I'll bet on him as well. I just think he's the guy who can be more durable. And it comes down to that against a guy like Nathaniel Wood, unless you're way lower level of skill, which I don't think Morgan is way lower level of skill compared to Nathaniel Wood, but he might be a little bit. But I just think Morgan, I think so highly of him. I'm very excited to see what he can do. I really like Morgan Charriere as a fighter. I'll go with him to win this fight by knockout, man. I love this guy. No homo. Move on to the next one. Jordan Vucenic's back. He's taking on Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan, he's a bit of a strange fighter to me. He goes out there last time, fights Blachowicz, I want to say, and gets a guillotine. I believe that was at UFC Paris. It was a nice win. And then Jordan Vucenic coming off a loss to Guram Kutateladze, where he had some success early on, landed a big right hand, dropped Guram, hurt him bad, and then lost the next 2 rounds and ended up losing the fight. It is what it is, short notice. And Vucenic looked great, man. He's staying up at lightweight. And I don't know how much I like that, and I'll tell you why. You can see here that Jordan is minus 350. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, because I do think this could be one of those fights where Chris Duncan's able to walk forward and just eat these dudes' shots. I'm sorry, I kind of worded that wrong. Just eat everything that Vucenic's kind of got. When it comes to skill, I think that Vucenic is probably better on the feet. He's faster on the feet. He's got better hands. But you can't really count Duncan out, man. He's going to, walk forward. He's going to be in your face. He's a little bit of a zombie-like. And his grappling's really improved over there at American Top Team. So definitely can't count him out here. I'm actually going to go ahead and pick Chris Duncan. I don't think more of like a value kind of play to me at the moment. Obviously, the film I'll have to do again. But I think that Chris Duncan's a guy who can kind of walk, like just outlast Vucenic, right? Keep up with him on the mat. And if it's on the feet, Duncan, he's slower. He doesn't do the best job of, keeping his hands up in defense, but he is pretty powerful. His right hand's pretty powerful. There are some concerns with Chris Duncan, like going to a decision with Ünal Ashmouz when Ashmouz's arm was broken, not finishing that fight. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Vucenic, man. Give me Vucenic to win. Give me Vucenic to win. Give me Jordan to win. I think he lands the better shots, more volume. If it goes to the mat, Vucenic's able to keep up. But on the feet, I think Vucenic's better footwork, better in and out movement, better volume as well. But definitely not a line where I'm like in 350 on Jordan Vucenic. So we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be, oh boy, Molly McCann versus Estela Nunez. Oh my gosh, look at her record. I'm going with Molly McCann. Oh boy. Gunnar Nelson taking on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is back again, and I don't know if I'm going to pick him again, man. He's an underdog to Gunnar Nelson. You know, Gunnar Nelson got that karate style. He likes to blitz in, chins up in the air a little bit. I think Kevin could catch him with a right hand, but it's ultimately if Gunnar can get him to the mat. You just saw RDR get Holland to the mat with pretty much no resistance whatsoever. I don't know who to pick here, guys. I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson because he's probably more prepared. It's down at 170 where we've been seeing Kevin Holland getting taken down much easier, right? People are able to take Kevin Holland down easier at welterweight. And I think that's going to be the downfall here. I think that Gunnar gets him to the ground here and wraps up a submission. And Gunnar Nelson literally never fights, bro. Literally never fights. I mean, he's got like 2 fights in the past 3 years, and I think both of them, I think that his last fight was Usman versus Edwards 3. Bro, that was like 2 years ago, man. Let's like pick up the pace a little bit or just, retire. But it's just on if Kevin can land that straight right or like right on Gunnar Nelson's chin or something. I don't know. It's just I can't I'm done trusting Holland, man. I don't know what to expect anymore. I'm going to go with Gunnar Nelson, probably training harder than Kevin Holland is by submission. So we'll move on to the next one. Jan Blachowicz, Carlos Ulberg. Man, I just, you're looking at Jan Blachowicz, heavy favorite, or I'm sorry, an underdog here. I just don't know, man. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that. Jan Blachowicz, he's had a lot of injuries, man, and it concerns me here. I think he can beat this guy, Carlos Ulberg. I surely do. When you're looking at Jan Blachowicz, he's just a tough, durable dude, man. He's just hard to get out of there. He's going to have the wrestling advantage here. He's going to be, to me, maybe the more powerful guy. He's not going to be as polished on the feet. But I'm going to go with Jan, man. I just think he can mix it up. I don't know if we've really seen Ulberg tested that much in the wrestling department, right? Volkan Ozdemir, I don't remember if he shot many shots. His takedown defense is 83%. I don't know who, wrestled him. But I think that Jan can mix it up better than anybody, right? The low kicks he likes. And Jan Blachowicz, if he's able to be on the front foot, he's a great fighter, right? You see him kind of fold under that pressure when he's on the back foot, specifically in the Alex Pereira fight. But when Jan's on the front foot, which Carlos Ulberg will allow him to do, I think he's a good fighter, man. It worries me with all the injuries, and Jan is obviously he's like 42 or 43 years old. But I just don't think Ulberg has been tested by a guy like this, right? This is a much harder fight than a Volkan Ozdemir. He's in front of a bigger dude who has a longer reach than him, and a guy who hits harder than Volkan, a guy who can mix in the wrestling, and he's not much more experienced than Volkan, but he is an experienced guy. I'm going to go with Jan here for my early prediction, but I don't know. It could go either way. Ulberg's obviously great with the footwork, great at landing that, counter left hook. It's nasty. It's good. But I'm going to go with Jan. And we'll move up to the main event. Leon Edwards taking on Sean Brady. Leon is plus 140. And I'm going to go with Leon, man. I think that Brady, to me, he's the best grappler at welterweight. And I confidently can say that. But my problems here arise with Sean Brady, and it's always been a bit of an issue with Sean Brady here, is his cardio. I do not like Sean Brady's cardio. And granted, he's coming off a win versus Gilbert Burns where he wrestled Burns, kind of just destroyed him on the mat, and he did it for 5 rounds. But this is a little bit more short notice, you know what I mean? I don't necessarily know how long Sean Brady's known about this matchup change or this matchup with Leon Edwards. I don't know, right? But like I said, man, I think that Brady's the best grappler in this division. And I know people are going to say, Obalal was able to take him down so many times, but Sean Brady's not able to replicate what Bilal was able to do, right? Striking his way into those takedowns. Sean Brady can't really do that, right? And even if Sean Brady's able to, try to do that for a little bit, he won't be able to consistently do it for 5 rounds like Bilal was able to, right? I just don't see that. And I think that Leon, he's not going to have to deal with that kind of Bilal that pressure like Bilal brought to him. He is going to have to deal with the pressure, but he's not going to have to deal with the striking, right? I don't think Sean Brady's a better striker than Bilal. And like I said before, Sean Brady can't keep it up for 5 rounds like Bilal can. I think that Edwards maybe struggles early on, but I do think as the fight continues, if Edwards is able to get back to his feet a couple of times, we're going to see Brady gas. I mean, I'll never forget when Sean Brady gassed against Michael Chiesa, dropped that last round, and I just don't know if I trust in his gas tank, right? I think he looked great against Gilbert, but I'm not going to act like he wasn't a little bit, I want to say like he was kind of gassed out in the 5th round, and I think that was a little bit, the corpse of Gilbert Burns. I don't think Gilbert's nearly as good as he was against these other guys when he fought Sean Brady, but I do think Sean Brady's a fantastic grappler. I really do, but I'm going with Leon here. I think that he has some success stuffing the takedowns and is able to land kicks on the feet, low kicks, just out-volume this guy, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm going to go with Leon Edwards, and I'm not a huge Leon fan, but I'll be rooting for him here. I like the underdog price on him, and I'll do film for this fight relatively early and make my mind up whether I'll bet on Leon or bet on Brady or not bet on either of them. I also like the hometown advantage that Leon's going to have, and he's back against the wall. You got kind of destroyed in your hometown, and you had you were talking shit to Bilal, and you kind of got humbled a little bit. You got to come back, get a win here. You know what I mean? And I think he can do it. So I'll go with Leon for my early prediction. I'm going to do film for this fight relatively fast, and I'll make my decision whether I bet on him or not, because I do like the underdog number. That's going to wrap it up for me. Hope y'all boys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.